From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is expelling U.S. chargé d'affaires Todd Robinson and his deputy in Caracas. Speaking just after he was officially proclaimed the winner of Sunday's presidential election, Maduro said the two had engaged in political, economic, and military conspiracies against Venezuela. Let's go to Ian Bruce with the details.
Crowds of supporters gather outside the Electoral Council in Caracas to cheer on Nicolas Maduro as he is officially declared re-elected. They're unmoved by the US announcement a day before of more financial sanctions.
Unfortunately, we have had sanctions for many years. Throughout history, North American imperialism has attacked all of Latin America, not just us, but nations like Nicaragua and Cuba. And yet they have overcome that. And Venezuela will also overcome.
The president received his credentials and called it a victory for the people. He repeated his call for reconciliation and dialogue, but made it clear Venezuela would not take aggression from the north lying down.
I declare the removal within 48 hours of U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Todd Robinson and Political Secretary Brian Naranjo. I have declared them as persona non grata, and they must leave the country within 48 hours. I do this in protest and in defense of the dignity of Venezuela. Enough conspiring.
For these Chavistas, too much has been gained to allow the United States or anyone else to take it away now.
Trump, Macri, Santos, whoever, they can do whatever they like. We are here, standing firm, with President Nicolas Maduro, re-elected by the power of the people, which is us, those who before were made invisible and have now become visible.
We have elected the government we want and the kind of country we want to build, ever since Chavez was first elected. And the people are ready to defend that. We don't believe in foreign interference. We believe that we, as the people, should decide our own destiny.
Like almost everyone who voted on Sunday, these Maduro supporters hope the elections will bring peace, so that the country can get down to solving the serious economic difficulties it faces.
So President Maduro has now been proclaimed. We'll have to wait and see when he's sworn in. But the challenge facing him and his government is clear: the economy. And with sanctions tightening and part of the opposition already refusing talks, that won't be easy. Ian Bruce, Telesur Caracas.
And President Maduro addressed the crowd just after the head of the National Electoral Council, Tibisay Lucena, proclaimed him as president of Venezuela for the next 6 years. Lucena said Sunday's vote was the result of great efforts to consolidate peace in the country. She also condemned the United States' attempt to interfere with the electoral process.
The National Electoral Council, in accordance with Article 33.6 of the Organic Law of the Electoral Power, certifies citizen Nicolas Maduro Moros, supported by several parties, as the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, elected in the elections that took place on May 28, 2018, for a 6-year term according to the Article 230 in the Constitution in the city of Caracas on May 22, 2018.
During his speech, President Maduro said the opposition caused their own downfall when they called for a boycott of the elections.
Falcón tried to justify his script. That political strategy killed the votes for his presidential campaign. Every new statement made by Falcón and his chief of campaign, Claudio Fermín, killed the hopes of an important group of Venezuelan voters who had the right to believe in the opposition. At 11 a.m. on May 20th, he started his operation to kill the elections. Henry Falcón was looking for forgiveness from the United States.
Moving to Brazil, where the United Nations Committee for Human Rights said it was initiating a formal investigation into the corruption case involving former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The organization is looking into possible violations against basic judicial guarantees in Lula's case. The United Nations Committee also warned Brazil's government that any act that poses an obstacle to the analysis of the committee is a violation of the International Pact of Civil and Political Rights. The same organization rejected a petition by Lula's lawyers for an injunction to avoid prison. It said it hasn't been demonstrated that the state is irreparably violating the former president's rights. Lula is currently detained in the federal police headquarters in Curitiba after being sentenced to 12 years in prison on corruption charges. Despite Lula's detention, the Brazil's Workers' Party intends to announce Lula as its candidate ahead of October's presidential election. Our correspondent in Brasilia, Adriana Robreño, has more details.
Former President Lula da Silva has been in prison for more than 40 days now at the police headquarters in Curitiba. Despite this, he's still leading the polls for the presidential elections, due to take place in October. The Supreme Electoral Court would prevent Lula from running for president, but its president has told a local TV station that the court can prevent Lula's candidacy. The Workers' Party has said on several occasions through its leader, Gleisi Hoffmann, that Lula is their only alternative because that's what the party wants, and that's what the Brazilian people want. The Workers' Party will register Lula's candidacy on August 15, which is the date when the candidacies will be formalized. Until that moment, the Supreme Electoral Court can challenge Lula's candidacy because until then, it won't be official. So until that date, Lula will remain the Workers' Party candidate.
Adriana Robreño from Brasilia. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos visited the northwestern department of Antioquia, where 25,000 people have been evacuated over the flooding of the Cauca River. The floods were caused after one of the tunnels of the Hidroituango electric plant project was unblocked. The dam is threatened by the risk of a further rise of the water level, something that could force 130,000 residents to evacuate. Workers are trying to raise the height of the dam to divert the water and avoid a collapse of the project structure. The Hidroituango Dam is the country's largest hydroelectric project.
We cannot let down our guard. The more prevention, the more careful we are, the better it's going to be.
And in the middle of an electoral battle ahead of Sunday's vote, communities and organizations in Colombia are calling for a full review of the extractivist model adopted by the last governments. They say that activities such as mining should decrease and that the market should not be open for exploitation by multinationals.
A few days before the presidential election, several organizations in the country are protesting to demand substantial changes to the government's extractivist model to protect their communities and the environment.
We are very worried about what we are seeing in these post-agreement times. We are set up for a continuation of the opening of doors by the government to foreign investment in Colombia.
Referendums have managed to slow the extractivist model in the past. However, in the last years, a number of legal obstacles have blocked that from happening.
There are almost 150 unfinished referendum projects, and some others that were about to be made were halted because there was no money to fund them. Other projects were stopped because they were declared unconstitutional.
Communities think the obstacles being implemented are not legally supported.
Many companies are very close to the institutions. It causes a revolving door effect, and many of the people working in environmental institutions end up working in multinational companies.
After more than 25 years of this extractivist model, various analyses have been made.
We all know that open-cast mining in big proportions has environmental consequences, and Colombia is not different from Peru or Chile, where it has been shown that poverty rates are higher and quality of life lower in mining zones. From this point of view, the balance is negative.
For experts, the peace process opens the door to the possibility of a new economic model that could empower the country's communities.
Now that the armed conflict with the FARC has ended, we hope that a peace deal will be signed with the ELN. It is possible to now think about an overhaul of lands rights in Colombia.
In spite of the new so-called clean energy model proposed by the government, communities still reject it.
Their intention is to change energy production into what they call clean energy production, but it is not that. For example, wind energy is managed by the EPM and some multinationals, but they have no community-based plans to develop it. There is no energy sovereignty.
Communities and social organizations are afraid of losing their rights due to the lobbying being made by various multinational companies, along with the government, and supported by some presidential candidates in order to maintain the old economic model.
Barbados goes to the polls on Thursday. Unlike many Caribbean countries, there is no 24-hour period of electoral silence in the lead-up to the voting, which means politicians can campaign up to midnight on Wednesday. And as Barbadians go to vote, the Elections and Boundaries Commission has given instructions on what colors people cannot wear to the polls. Voters are prohibited from wearing party symbols and colors like blue and yellow, which represent the ruling DLP, red for the BLP, orange for the UPP, or green for the SP. All other colors and work uniforms are allowed on election day.
To give you a rapper at the end. Have a blessed day. The movement's mine.
In a political meeting on Monday, Prime Minister Furendal Stewart tackled the promises of BLP leader Mia Mottley, saying she was returning to soup kitchen politics in the country, meaning she was promising freebies at a time when the country couldn't afford it.
A country that couldn't afford to buy a car can now buy 50 buses? A country that couldn't afford to buy a car can now buy garbage trucks? A country that couldn't afford to buy a car, they are now telling you can afford to do without the National Social Responsibility Levy, can now do without road tax. That is the absurdity of our politics today.
Meanwhile, BLP candidate Mia Mottley is trying to appeal to young voters by taking over the popular entertainment Instagram page Bajantub. Bajantub has over 124,000 followers, and with Insta stories, she took followers through everything from last-minute party meetings to how she's dealing with the flu. She also received an unofficial endorsement from Rihanna in the comment section.
Hey everyone, this is Mia. I'm taking over Bajantub for the day. I don't know how I got these guys to persuade me into this, but let's try it and see what happens. It's probably going to be a crazy day. It's 2 days before elections. I'm going into an election meeting now. All I'm having for breakfast this morning is cinnamon tea. Not really good, but it tastes good. Try it. Boil up the cinnamon and just keep it there and keep boiling it again. It's good for you. Helps, I hope, speed up the metabolism, which I really need now since I stopped smoking.
We'll take a short break now, but join us after this video from our multimedia team. Welcome back. UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson is on an official visit to Buenos Aires, where he and his Argentinian counterpart, Jorge Faurier, discussed proposals for new flights between the Malvinas Islands and Argentina. In a joint news conference with Johnson, Faurier said that a total of 5 airlines are competing to carry the new flights, but did not name them. He also said that 2 airlines are based in Chile, 2 in Brazil, and 1 in Uruguay. Argentina and the UK are seeking better ties despite competing sovereignty claims to the Malvinas, which are 500 kilometers off Argentina's coast. Johnson's visit for a G20 meeting is the first by a British foreign secretary to Argentina in 22 years.
As Jorge said in his introductory remarks, our 2 positions on the sovereignty issue are well known and will be known to everybody watching this. But that does not preclude and should not preclude all that we are doing together now to build a partnership in the areas that Jorge and I have described, and an intensifying commercial relationship. That's what we want to see.
Britain, which has been involved in numerous armed conflicts throughout its history, knows that going to war is not the best scenario.
We continue in Argentina, where a strike by Buenos Aires subway workers ended up with dozens of police officers trying to remove them from one of the station's tracks. The union workers were striking on the tracks to prevent the normal functioning of the trains. 16 of them were detained, and via Twitter, union leader Daniel Catalano said that the use of force by police and the decision to suppress the demonstration in the subway tunnels proves the, quote, brutality of the government. Buenos Aires subway workers have been carrying out rotating strikes for a couple of weeks now, asking for better wages. In Chile, the diocese of the city of Rancagua, south of the capital Santiago, suspended 14 priests allegedly involved in sexual abuse cases. The decision was made after local media outlet Canal 13 reported that churchmen from the diocese were denounced for sexual abuse and inappropriate behavior. Chilean bishops have acknowledged again the damage caused by these allegations and said the church is not a place for committing crimes.
When we talk about shame, we do so with sincerity, because the church was not constituted by Jesus to cause harm and damage of such magnitude. I understand that many do not give belief in the forgiveness we ask for and the pain we express. We will not recover confidence overnight.
We have thought it best, as has been repeated here, to leave the decision whether to accept the bishop's resignations in the Pope's hands.
Meanwhile, the Holy See announced Pope Francis is meeting 5 Chilean priests in the Vatican from June 1st to June 3rd. The priests were sexually abused by priest Fernando Caradima. This is the second group of victims the pontiff meets, as the Vatican says, quote, to show his closeness and listen to their valuable opinions to improve the current preventive measures against abuses in the church. It is still to be disclosed if Pope Francis will accept the recent en masse resignation of 34 Chilean bishops. Indigenous organizations of the Ecuadorian Amazon went to the Ombudsman office to publicly complain about oil and mining activities in protected areas of the Amazon forest. The Wauranis, Siona, and Cofán communities have said the government has not complied with laws related to the protection of their ancestral territories. They asked the Ombudsman to step in to protect the communities and the sovereignty of their land. They also asked for mining projects to leave the area. The Deputy Ombudsman said the office will look into their requests.
All these mining and oil activities put the way of life and the physical and cultural survival of these people at serious risk. It represents not only fundamental threats to their territory, ecosystem and environment, but also to their dignity and to be able to continue being indigenous communities.
We'll take one last short break, but join us after this video from our multimedia colleagues. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump has said on Tuesday that his scheduled meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un may be postponed. The statement came as South Korean President Moon Jae-in is in Washington to prepare the Trump-Kim summit. Doubts about the meeting started after North Korea said it will not completely denuclearize, a condition demanded by the U.S. to carry on with the talks. The summit is scheduled to take place on June 12th in Singapore. Following Trump's comments to possibly postpone this meeting, North Korea has allowed foreign journalists to cover the dismantling of its nuclear site in the coastal city of Wonsan. A group of journalists from China, Russia, the United States, Britain, and South Korea will witness the breaking down of the nuclear site. It will take 3 days for the facility to be cleared out. Police in India opened fire on pollution protesters, killing 12 of them. Here's more on that and other stories making headlines around the world.
Indian police killed at least 12 people after they opened fire at demonstrators protesting against factory pollution in the city of Tuticorin in the south of the country. Residents have been protesting for months against a copper plant run by British mining giant Vedanta Resources. Environmentalists allege the plant is contaminating water resources, a charge that has been denied by the company. Burkina Faso security forces killed 3 suspected terrorists and arrested 1 on Tuesday's military operation on the outskirts of the capital Ouagadougou. The city has been hit by several Islamic militant attacks in recent years. In March, an Al-Qaeda affiliate group killed 8 people and wounded dozens in coordinated raids at the army headquarters and the French embassy.
They had Kalashnikovs and machine guns, which is a heavy weapon. They had grenades and other things which the investigation will reveal. Possibly elements they could put together to make explosives, but everything leads us to believe this was a militant group.
Celebrated U.S. author Philip Roth has died at the age of 85. In a career of over 7 decades, he won the Pulitzer, National Book Award, and Man Booker International Prize. He wrote over 30 books and won the 1998 Pulitzer Prize for fiction for his acclaimed novel, American Pastoral.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has apologized to European Union lawmakers for a massive data leak scandal. Zuckerberg was interrogated about data protection and use of his social media platform in influencing elections around the world. Facebook has faced wide criticism after it admitted of exposing personal data of 87 million users, more than 2 million of which were from the EU. The details were hijacked by data mining company Cambridge Analytica, which worked for US President Donald Trump during his 2016 campaign. While in a move to expand the social media platform, Facebook has launched its first African technology hub in Nigeria. The tech company aims to train 50,000 young entrepreneurs and developers in digital technology. The company said this will create a robust technology ecosystem in the country. The community hub is located at Montgomery in the suburb of Capital Lagos. Brazilian singer Gilberto Gil announced he is canceling the concert he had scheduled in Israel on July 4th. The decision comes after hundreds of Palestinians were killed during protests on the Gaza border since the end of March. A statement shared by Arbel, the company in charge of the concert, said the decision was made because of the general feeling of apprehension because Israel is going through a delicate moment. Other personalities from the world of culture have also shown their rejection to Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories. And now we've come to the end of this news brief. But this and other stories you can find on our website, telesurtv.net/English. And be sure to follow us also on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.